session of Team Braconi Live. Happy holidays. I get Alfredo Vastola here as always, my co-host, and excited to speak a little bit about positive mental attitude today, kind of what worked for us and what we instill in our team. Before we do that, I just wanted to, you don't even know about this, thank Alfredo because we had another great year and he's the staple and backbone of this team. He's done so much for us and really appreciate you and everything you did. We nearly were identical to last year, and the market in New Jersey is something like 35% less per agent, meaning commissions were 35% down, and we were very close to where we were last year. We don't have the final numbers yet, but thank you for everything, my friend.
Wow, well, thank you very much, and I toss it back to you. Thanks, Steve, very much for providing the team and the structure and the tools and the mentorship and the guidance and everything that goes along with it. And it wouldn't be possible without Steve's guidance. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Once again, another great year, especially as things started to shift in a different direction. So let's get to it today. So a lot of agents have reached out to you, me, clients as well, who are interested in knowing more about some of the stuff we've already discussed in past podcasts in regards to a mental ability to push through things especially when things get more difficult. Can you elaborate a little bit more on your day-to-day and on your mental attitude?
Absolutely. So I always related to sports. That's what we did last time. We kind of went into it a little bit, and what allowed me to kind of build my business and continue to function at a high rate for a long period of time. When I wake up every day, it's kind of do it or don't. And I have that saying, you're either going to do it or you're not.
Yeah.
There's really no in between. So for example, when I get up, if I'm planning to work out in the gym that morning, there's not a question of if I'm working out or not working out. I'm going and I'm going to do the best that I can given that day. And I strive to be the best person I can be, the best realtor I can be, the best father I can be. So I don't so much compare myself to other people, though certainly numerically you tend to in our industry, but more so how I can continue to improve and better myself and better my teammates. So that's kind of the day-to-day is I do it or I don't. And I tend to do it because if you don't do it, it's cumulative. So over the course of time, as you're not doing these things, that will catch up to you. And conversely, if you are doing things and doing the right things, that's going to pay off over the course of time.
So it's probably also putting the right things in front of your face, because I think, especially with having our devices in front of us all the time and with social media, there's different paths you can go with what content you consume. So, you can get trapped in looking at negative content.
Absolutely.
And just get stuck in a rut, or, putting a structure and following the right things online or social media on your phone that gets you in the right direction. So is there anything that you do specifically to keep that focus?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I try every day to do the best that I possibly can do. And each day is a little different by nature, but I try to progress forward. And I use an analogy, and I use it with my friends sometimes, but if you have a bucket and you are going to be getting a drop of water in that bucket each day, it starts to accumulate over time.
You got a comment?
Oh, got a comment. Sorry. We have a comment coming in. No excuse mentality. Good stuff, Steve. All right. Thank you, Karen.
So yeah, if you continue to do the best that you can each day, and you put that drop of water in the bucket each day, over the course of time, there's going to be more and more in that bucket. It's not really noticeable over a day or course of a week or two or maybe three. It took me quite a long time to build the real estate business up to where we are today. Mm-hmm. But I was certainly better off after 6 months or a year than I was day one. But again, it's not as noticeable over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what are some of the differences you see with agents or people in general that are successful at the top versus either they're struggling or never seem to get to the next level?
So if they're never getting to the next level, a lot of times it's accountability. So I have seen agents and I have colleagues and friends in life that either don't set goals, which, there's really no task, there's really no end game, whether it's career or with their families. There's really no, it's kind of just floating through, which is their choice. Or even worse, they'll set goals. They'll tell me what these goals are. I'm going to do this 3 times a week, or I'm going to emulate kind of what you were doing. When I asked you, you kind of told me what you do with working out or with real estate or whatever it might be, and I'm going to do those things. And when it doesn't come to fruition, there's oftentimes no accountability.
Mhm.
You don't. When I say, "Hey, how did that go?" It's just kind of empty air, which to me is surprising, because it's like, if you set a goal, you don't have to always attain that goal. You certainly want to,
Right.
and try. I always try to set goals higher, and if I don't attain it, at least it's maybe
Yeah, it's
higher
not
than
zero. It isn't.
right. Right. So it's the scale, right?
Yeah.
But to have no accountability and that mental attitude of oh well, that's a different extraordinary thing that I have trouble understanding, because it would frustrate me greatly, because again, then I wouldn't be trying to be the best I could be. More than that too, it's when they don't reach the goal, there's no reset. So if you're trying to diet or something like that, or trying to do calls for real estate where you're prospecting, you're doing it now for the team, 10 calls a day, whatever it might be. If you fall off for a day or two because you were too busy or a million things, or maybe you were sick, don't stop for a month,
Right.
or 2 months,
Right.
or 3 months.
And that's putting that structure in place that, you can
Right.
jump right back in there.
Right. Hop right back on. Same with diet. People try to eat right and do the right things, and then they have a cheat day. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if a cheat day turns into a cheat month, or a cheat 3 months or 6 months or a year, that becomes a different story. So I think it's also the ability for that person to get back in line with where their goals are headed, or what they want them to head, as soon as possible.
Absolutely. And it's funny because it I mean, we've mentioned it before, but it directly translates to business. I mean, you put that structure in place, you put that system in place, you ask people on your team to be accountable. You're doing it for them. It seems like sometimes it's comes off as a management tool, but it is both a management tool and an accountability for them, so that they can put that structure in place. And that's kind of it seems like how we gear our team a little bit, is trying to put those tools in place, and some of that accountability, so that it does become routine, and we can see their goals, but they can see them. We're transparent. They can see their goals as well. They have the same data available to monitor their progress.
And I think it's also priorities.
Yeah.
If we prioritize what's most important to us, and whatever that might be, that's going to get done throughout the day, and then it trickles down. It becomes an issue that I see when priorities are out of whack, especially for an extended period of time. So, for example, if getting healthier, fit, or getting more constructive with your real estate business is a priority, which means you should be in the gym or in the office making calls or wherever that might be, but perhaps you like to go out to the bar for a few beers, and that becomes more of a regular occurrence than making the calls or being in the gym or eating properly. It's cumulative. That's gonna have the long-term effect that perhaps you weren't looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the long term of that that lifestyle of, like you said, I'd rather go to the bar. It doesn't pay the dividends that you find people who do have a more regimented program or diet, or if you want to, don't really call it a diet, but they're taking care of themselves. They tend to be the people that are healthier, happier, and more successful.
I mean,
so.
for me, it's crazy, but they probably think I'm crazy. So every night when I travel up 45 minutes to train jiu-jitsu, I pass a bar, and even in the freezing cold, people are outside smoking cigarettes and drinking. This is Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, Monday nights, and I'm like, they're crazy.
Yeah.
But they probably think I'm crazy. So, and I'm not knocking that. That's their decision. But I'm not sure what goal they have in mind with that, other than the instant gratification. Sometimes instant gratification, I think that's a good point. You will long term. The other thing that I was going to mention, which is, it's actually extraordinary to me, is I know people in my life that have attained extreme success in a certain area, specifically athletics. and have great difficulty bringing that over to other aspects of their life, included but not limited to business. For me, I try to make that a staple or a platform of when I was younger and tried to compete in wrestling and other sports, and brought it towards, working out and diet, and now of course real estate, and also in my family life. Like, again, just the main focus of do it or don't, and just trying to be the best I can be, and not really focused on other people around me, other than perhaps sometimes in real estate numbers we get competitive. But I find that, and I wanted your opinion on that, but I'm not sure if you know anyone, but I'm talking at a high world-class level of athletics.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at their inability not only to with business, but to understand ideas and concepts and take advantage of opportunities that maybe were brought to them. It's like, how could you be so elite here and not there?
That is a very interesting question. Maybe it has to do in some cases with instant gratification. I think that's actually a huge part of it. If they've seen the success in that part of their world, they have to try to understand that when they move over to another department, whether it's business, that it's going to take them that same struggle, that same work ethic to get to success in that portion of their life. And maybe because they've had success doing that thing, that now they want the instant gratification from the other thing. So maybe that could be a huge portion. Plus, we obviously in an instant gratification type of society now. So I don't know if those two things would correlate.
Well, the thing is with the examples I know, and I don't want to say too much, but basically it's sports, right? So they've trained their whole life,
right?
So it wasn't instant. Now they might be talented, but they had to work extremely hard and really have every thing in check, like, whether it be diet and nutrition and working out and the specific sport, to get to that level and not be able to translate it over. I just was surprised by that, because up until that point, and I've already explained that I worked for a venture capital firm where we did startups, and then I worked within real estate, and the people that I tried to emulate try to do everything they possibly can, the best that they possibly can, and they make the most out of every opportunity. So I see people that have been extremely successful in other areas have opportunities come across their desk and pass on it completely. And so it's actually, and I'm not knocking it. It's actually was just surprising to me that was, because they're so positive and they have such a good mental attitude in one category.
Well, there's certainly people in that genre that have been extremely successful in business. I think you're just saying that you've come across quite a bit where that wasn't the case. And, maybe there's something to that instant gratification where, they have spent years and decades training their body and their mental state to perform that sport. And then either it's just the way that the society is, everything is kind of instant gratification, or that they've had the success and now they should be instantly successful in whatever they do. So it's mental. So I think you're really focusing on the mental portion of, training your mind to be successful in whatever it is you do. So on a day-to-day basis, you talked a bunch about how you set goals to training and obviously it translates for you into business, but how specifically have you been able to maintain that focus for such a long period of time in some of the day-to-day stuff you do in the business?
Absolutely. And to take a step back, you and I, as my team manager and myself as the team leader, see it constantly where we're speaking to an agent who's on cloud 9. They just did a couple deals and they feel really good. And within a week or a small period of time, we'll get a text message or an email or a phone call where they're concerned, right?
Yeah.
And it's waves and all that, but that's where the mental fortitude of pushing through, having a bit of confidence, but also the effort is there that, over the course of time, I'm putting all the probability in my favor by doing all these tasks every day, that it's going to pay off. It's going to pay dividends. And it may not be today, and I might be frustrated tomorrow, but over the course of time, I'm going to be good. And so I understand that they need support and that sort of thing. It's just that teeter-totter will drive you nuts.
Yeah, I mean, lead time in our industry is so long. You know, we meet people today that can close next year or 2 years from now.
Or later.
So that it's really a focus of what I'm doing today is going to pay out dividends, and that's what do you do mentally and physically on a day-to-day basis that you understand that that's the case and that's what you do.
So for me, I break everything down, like I said. So I prioritize things. So for me, again, not to pull away from real estate too much, but the physicality stuff is big for me. So I do work out every morning. I do eat properly because I feel like then I'll function at the level I need to be at. Once I know that that's done, then I'll look through and I'll start to prioritize my day, my week, my month, my year. That might shift as things change, the market changes, our team grows. There's things that can affect that, but I always have a plan in place. Doesn't mean I don't change the plan,
Right.
or perhaps once in a while abort a plan, right?
Abort.
If it's not working, it's not working.
Yeah.
But I have a plan in place to change or edit or omit. So I take that, and I also break that down very microscopic in the sense of I also know which clients I should be spending the time on, the most time on, right? And I know which ones maybe if they'll be at the back, you know, where either the timing's not right or perhaps they're not approved, or there's a million reasons that they maybe aren't ready. But I know who to prioritize time and effort on. And that also holds true for the team structure. So I know you and the agents and the internal sales agents and the coordinator, I know where I need to structure my time, or at least I try, and that's changed as we've grown, but to focus my efforts. Otherwise, you're pulled in a million different directions, as you know.
Yeah.
And it becomes difficult to get anything done. Just, I think a month ago, not even, we kind of restructured a little bit of your time and saying, okay, this is what you need to do, this task. Once that's done, then let's talk about the other tasks.
Right.
Because otherwise you got pulled in a million different directions.
That definitely works. And once you put it in writing or just block things off, that's very helpful and it works.
So in one word, it's structure.
Yeah.
Two, maybe discipline. You know, if you have structure and discipline,
Yeah.
you know where to focus your energy on and your time on. That's huge.
Yeah.
And then you have the ability, the mental attitude and fortitude to push through, because it's always going to be tough. It's a matter of, can you push through when things are tough? Anyone can do any business when it's easy and rosy, right? It's when it's difficult. But when it's difficult, that's what I talked about before. There's opportunities.
Yeah.
So when opportunities present themselves, are you ready to make the most out of your opportunity? Or is someone going to offer you something across your desk and you say no for whatever reason? You have to take the opportunities that you feel will most benefit you throughout life.
Yeah, 100%. And I know we've spoken in the past about some positive role models. And can you kind of elaborate on some people in your life that have guided you in the right direction, have been that influential role model that has helped you be successful?
Several. My father, of course, he was in the business.
Yeah. Ethics
and honesty. And there's certain things I learned from him doing really crummy jobs in the summers and, you know, seeing how hard he worked. So certainly that, certainly learned how to be nice to people and treat people well from my mother. So probably both my parents for sure. There was a gentleman that I worked for through the venture capital firm named Jerry Nelson that was a huge influence on me as far as business. When I went in to meet him, he was a co-founder of Ticketmaster, but it was just like, I'd never seen anyone function at that high a level of business before. And he was talking about numbers over the phone, that adding zeros that I didn't know existed. So it opened my eyes a little bit. And then my wrestling coach certainly helped me a lot. I remember specifically one example where I lost a match in a tournament that I honestly should have won, and he ripped me. And you probably wouldn't treat a kid like that today. It was a little bit different back then, but I remember that. And what's the funny part about that story is, at least 10 years later, I saw him randomly in town, and he apologized for how hard and I said, no, that actually helped me.
He felt like he had to apologize.
It really helped me, because you you do learn a lot from losses,
Yeah.
right? You learn a lot. If you're going to be successful, you're going to change what deflected the success or prevented the success of that event. If you're not, you're going to continue to do the same thing. So for me, even though I can't say I didn't lose again, I didn't lose in that fashion. I definitely gave it. I left everything that I had on the mat.
Well, I think just as importantly is the push of the role model is the pull from the negative influence or someone that's kind of dragging you down. I think it's important to focus on where that person or place might be and understanding it and moving away from it. Have you experienced anything like that?
As far as negativity,
Somebody that's just elaborate a little bit on pinpointing that and rooting it out so that you can move in the direction that you want to.
Well, first of all, as soon as I feel as though someone doesn't have the best interest of myself or my family, depending on the situation, if it's business, it's me. If it's personal, it's myself and my family. I don't necessarily need them around. Doesn't mean I'm going to be rude to them or anything like that, but I don't want them within that circle. I want to try to bring people into my team and my life that bring positivity and not can offer me something like I'm selfish, like I need something, but offer happiness, offer something positive. I feel like when you collectively become something over the course of your life, I'm different now at my age than I was at 20 and even than I was at 30. And part of that is, in my opinion, from the people that you meet throughout time. Right. They shape you a little bit. And I try to take the good in those people and instill them in myself. Right. And vice versa. If I meet someone that I feel like that's not a good trait, or maybe jealousy, or there's certain things that aren't ethical, or I just don't feel like we have a good vibe. Again, I'm not rude to them. I just, I don't need them around. And I'll realize I really shouldn't act this way or treat people that way. And I mean, how we try to install that attitude and fortitude in the team.
Absolutely. Now, another thing I'm also very curious of is, given all of our new technology that we have available, are you more of a old school methodology, or you prefer the newer tools that we have to keep your focus in the right direction in work, or mix? Maybe it's a mix.
So, yeah, and I didn't know you were going to ask that question, but that's a good question. So definitely a mix, and I have an asterisk because you're my guy that brings the tech stuff to the team.
Yeah,
and it's extremely helpful, and it keeps us relevant, and it keeps us informed. It also keeps us very structured, and all the things that align with the way I did things old school. So when I literally had a spreadsheet or wrote things down by hand, you now have electronically. So I don't think you can lose the old school mentality of creating a relationship with someone with real estate and remaining positive, offering value to the client, knowing the product, having knowledge, having professionalism, having ethics, all the things that are old school. But if you can add in technology, which is value, especially to the right consumer, I think it's fantastic. You've added value, in my opinion, with technology, not only to the team, because we're super organized now. We have the best CRM, in my opinion, to service our clients, best website, with relevant data that's instantly updated. I can go on and on, but also with the clients, so our team is well informed and organized, but the clients are getting a higher level of service because of the tools you put in place.
Absolutely. Kind of want to shift gears a little bit. I was touching upon the negative influence of people, but there's been a lot of, as the market has turned a little bit from what we were experiencing, a lot of the headlines now are very, it's very aimed at scaring consumers, in my opinion, to be honest. You have a flash headline of more than 250,000 home buyers in 2022 are underwater on mortgages. Economists, a U.S. housing recession has already arrived. Now, for sure, we're not in the market 6 months ago or a year ago or a year and a half ago. But, and we don't know 100% where we're headed. But digging deeper into some of these articles that pop out, the information there's more to there's more to that just than that headline is what I want to say. But they're not pulling out the right data, I think.
Well, I think
for
also it's I just saw some stat that I think it's been 10 months consecutive of home sale values. It was either home sale values or home sale units decreasing, but regardless, a bad stat for 10 months. It's also very local.
Yeah, definitely.
So when they pull this data nationally, it could be very relevant or practically irrelevant. I mean, of course, it's going to affect the shift of most markets if all of a sudden the U.S. economy goes into a deep recession.
Mm-hmm.
Interest rates are sky high, inflation, whatever, may cause that at the time. Different factors, of course, but it's still local. And even the last time we saw a massive recession, not only certain towns got affected worse than others, but we had condominium complexes in the same town on the same street next to each other, and you would have 15% depreciation in one and 40% in the other.
Yeah.
Some of that factors into how new the units were, when they were last sold, the amenities and the holding costs, defaults, how many people were not paying maintenance fees and foreclosures. But again, if you have two condo buildings next to each other, fairly similar, and one is depreciating at 15%, one's depreciating at 40%, it's a 25% difference in the same town with the same type of home. So point being, I don't think you can blanket the entire United States if you're having a higher level intelligent conversation. It's very easy for the media to come out with headlines based on the United States, right? Which is still relevant to some degree, because it is the tide, and it's going to affect theoretically all markets, but not the same. Some will be affected differently than others.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. It's obviously, it's a very localized situation for any market. You really want to figure out, what's going on in that particular market. Market in another state could be super cold, and we still have hot markets. So I just feel like sometimes these articles are sensationalizing for I don't know what reason. Clickbait is what a lot of people often say. That article, I dug deeper into the numbers because they were using Black Knight Mortgage Monitor report for October. And there was so much good information in there, but they decided to pull out the one piece that people would be a little bit, scared of hearing. And if you actually look at that particular piece of information, it's kind of meaningless. I mean, of course they're going to be underwater. It was more than 250,000 home buyers in 2022 are underwater on the mortgages.
Yeah.
They just purchased the home.
Right.
They don't plan to move out. They're not moving out tomorrow. I mean, obviously things happen and maybe relocation for work, but they just purchased the home. And
I think it showed that the appreciation at minimal slowed down.
Of course.
And
they just bought the house.
Reversed, right?
Right.
They just bought the house.
So it's why would you scare, there's certainly indicators in the market that it's slowed down and maybe we're flatlining in the prices. But you read some of these headlines and you think the market is down 25, 35, 40% across the nation. And we're not sure why they're doing that. If more news comes out and things slow down significantly to a level that is more fearful, then fine. It's just peculiar as to why some of these headlines, and maybe it's laziness, maybe it's just not doing the research.
Well, I watch pretty closely a couple different markets in the United States. One's in Florida, one obviously New Jersey, New York. In the markets I know very well, and you can't know, well, it'd be very difficult to know many markets very well, but I know those markets pretty well. I haven't seen prices really get affected yet. I've seen the days on market increase. So how long that they're on the market before getting an accepted offer is increasing. Inventory for the season is slightly higher. So I've seen that, which theoretically will lead to price decreases or sale prices coming down. But we haven't seen that yet, which is interesting because typically there's not much delay. Typically when you see the days of market rising and more inventory coming on, people say, all right, before it comes down more, I want to sell. And that's kind of what starts
snowball.
process.
Yeah.
Well, we're not seeing that.
It could also just be fear from the previous downturn, 2008, and just maybe trying to prepare or, um, get consumers aware that something, is possible. But I think to me, if you're a reporter, you got to dig into the numbers, and there's still some positive numbers. Just because the rate shot up, it's still a normalized rate. We were lucky. We were living in a period of 2-3%. That was great, but it wasn't normal. So
Also, if it's in one of our markets, New Jersey, New York, we have the data. So if any clients or even other agents are curious, they can reach out to us anytime, and we can go over the data. The data that we pull is specifically from tax records, i.e. the MLS. So it's difficult, if not impossible, to skew. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So we can give that data and put it in a readable format.
Yeah, I mean, I almost all I do is go over numbers and look at data, and they're still forecasting a good deal of sales. So there's going to be transactions in 2023, and I think we need to focus on that. So, anything else you wanted to?
I think it was just you had a question you had asked me before, related to.
Oh yeah, what should home buyers be looking for when searching for the right agent to work with?
Yes, and we discussed this, but I think obviously honesty, right? And we always tell our agents, build a relationship, don't sell the home. We don't, as agents, typically have a product. We provide a service to sell someone else's product, someone else's home. So ethics, honesty, but also location, where they're primarily located at and what are they familiar with. Professionalism. I always like to, if I'm referring someone out of state, look at reviews and when those reviews were written. And like I said, the volume of activity. You don't necessarily want someone that's extremely busy where they're not returning calls. When the market was crazy, I would refer people sometimes to the Florida market, and it's difficult to even get a call back because it's just too busy.
Mm-hmm.
But a steady flow of business, in my opinion, is best. Location, honesty, integrity, professionalism, and experience. You probably don't want someone in the business less than a year, I'd say, if you're dealing with an asset, unless they have someone that is assisting them in some fashion. We've all been there, but looking back, I can honestly say, and that's why we have with our agents, if they need that assistance, they have someone more senior on those files with them. I think that's extremely important, especially with mostly times you're dealing with someone's biggest asset, or at least one of them.
How do you think buyers and sellers, their search differs when they're in different market classes? Someone who's either selling or buying a home in a higher luxury market, how do you perceive as an agent they're searching for those agents to work with, whether it's selling or buying a home?
I mean, honestly, I think a lot of it is direct referral.
On the higher end, right?
On the higher end, a lot of it's direct referral, because I have higher end listings, and more than 9 out of 10 times, closer to 10 out of 10 times, when someone comes to see the home or inquires on the home, they have an agent.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, they've probably already bought and sold real estate, most times in the area. And if they haven't, they're in a circle of established people that have homes, and they would recommend someone for them. So vast majority of the time, and when I say luxury, it's north of 3 million for sure, even sometimes north of 2 million. When you get below that, you're having people that still could be a first-time buyer, still could be upgrading from a condo, but young and not know anyone in that area. But when you're really established and you're high end, 5 million, 6 million, it's almost always a repeat agent. Like they've already represented you in your last purchase. I sold a home, I think it was close to 6 million in Saddle River, but that was from a client that I had sold their home years ago in Upper Saddle River for, I think, over 2 million. And they were upgrading. So they used me again, but they didn't go out and search. They were comfortable with me representing them. And so that's how you attain that business.
It's relationships.
100%.
100%. And that's where we're in the relationship business.
Yep.
So, and I think we encourage people in below that market to forge relationships so that you can find an agent that way. That's the best way it works.
Yeah.
You know, you want to find an agent that's going to be your advocate, that you don't know them, but you're going to know them, and you get to like them, and you're going to get to trust them. And that's how, on our end, that we like the relationship to work. It helps us as agents service the client the best way possible. And it is the best way for the client to get the best possible service.
Well, in reality, we're all humans.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I've become good friends with a lot of clients. Not because they were my clients, but because they were good people. And you could as an agent, you can tell a lot about someone going through a stressful process like buying or selling a home. Yeah. And the way that they react to things that are unforeseen oftentimes, and we're doing the best we can, that tells you a lot about them in life. So I have a lot of very close friends who originally came strictly from the business that are now my friends and my family's friends, you know. And I think that's a testament to not only the way that I work, but also the people that we're in touch with. We work with a lot of good humans, a lot of good people.
Yeah. So as an agent, you got to open up your circle so that you can get some of those referrals, especially if you want to work in the higher luxury end area, which we like to do as well ourselves. Absolutely. I was going to touch upon, I mentioned Zillow in that little dialogue, because they provide a great service. I mean, we're partners with them. They provide a great service of lead generation. You know, and we use that tool very well, very effectively to meet new clients. And but when we bring them in, we want to forge those relationships with them. You know, so I think it's important for new buyers in the lower. Well, they're not. You know, it's not lower, but it's below the 3 million, as you mentioned. To understand, when you're reaching out to an agent, you want to figure out who that person you're working with is on the other end. And if that's the person that you feel the most comfortable with, you know, have a interview with them. You should be interviewing your agent, right?
Yeah. And then I would encourage the public, once you meet someone and like them, stay loyal to them. Because again, we're humans too.
Yeah.
Like, so don't hop around. You're going to get better service.
That's my point. Yeah.
And if that means not coming to our team and because you already met someone, that's fine.
That's fine.
But when you meet someone, you have a connection with them and you feel good,
stick with them.
Stay with them.
That's exactly.
Because you're just going to be treated better, and over the course of time, it's a better relationship.
If you like that person and they're providing the service that you need, you know, they're responsive to the way you want to be responded to, then, as to your point, I think it would help the industry and just the consumers in general a tremendous amount, instead of the hopping around.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate everything.
But one more thing. Yeah. So I wanted to mention, while we're on the Zillow real quick, Zillow does an awesome thing. This is for the parents out there. You know, hop on, just search. You can go on Google or whatever, and just search for Zillow Santa's house, and it'll pop up a nice photos of a village they have out in the North Pole, I guess. It's really cool. Kids love it. Show your kids. It's an awesome thing that they do.
What's the site?
It's just go to Zillow. It's a web address on Zillow, but rather than just give the actual full address because it's a little long, just search for Santa's house on Zillow.
Okay.
Whatever. It'll pop up. You check it out. Show your kids. Say, hey, you want to check out Santa's house, and they love it.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you again. I want to thank my entire team. Thank my family. We had an excellent 2022. We look forward to 2023. A lot of good things coming. Definitely. As always, if anyone needs anything at Team Braconi, you can reach us.
S Braconi or at Team Braconi.
Yeah, absolutely. Either one works. And we look forward to seeing you in 2023.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.